Hi, Candy with Blessed Life, and today you are going to get a riveting review of What is a Woman by Matt Walsh. He did a really good job. I think that it's a good movie, but there's one huge gigantic thing that he kind of didn't really take into consideration. I think that his focus on the trans issue, and I know that a lot of this What is a Woman has come out of the trans issue, but there's been a definition of women from the beginning of time. Different people have tried to put women in boxes and places, and I think that it's really important that we start one. I'm going to give you the Oxford English Dictionary definition. It's the female human being, the female part of the human race, the female sex. So female. Okay, so basically an adult female is basically what Oxford is saying. And I think that that's a good general definition to go with. He never starts with a definition. The second thing is, most of the people that he asked that question to are men, and I think that it should have been more of a focus on women answering the question. And so that is a problem with me. And there is a huge problem though, and I do think that he was trying to expose the transgender agenda and the transgender philosophies and the transgender things that are going on that people don't know about, and it definitely did that. It definitely shows you things. There's a woman who transitioned to be a man named Scott something, and he can't detransition because he had all the operations top and bottom, and so he really talks about the botched procedures and what happens to you and how you are locked into then taking all these hormones the rest of your life and what they do to you, the health risk and life risk that are involved with these operations and with the hormone treatments. And I think that I would like to see more people that have had problems with their surgeries come out and talk about them and talk about the things that are going on, so that they and warn people that want to do these surgeries to maybe rethink doing these surgeries, maybe take more time to do research, because I didn't know some of the problems that were existing. And of course, I've never gone to have that kind of surgery, but I don't think that people are being informed, especially the young people that this is happening to. The other thing that I really thought, as far as the transgender issue, that was really revealing was when he said to a college professor who was doing women, he was a man, but he was doing women's studies, and he said basically that Matt, he keeps questioning Matt, because Matt's like quiet the whole time, and he just lets them just keep talking and talking and talking their drivel. And finally he says, well, what are you looking for? And he said, I'm looking for the truth. And he's like, well, what is your truth? And he's like, Matt's like, I'm not looking for my truth. I'm looking for the truth. And the guy got really, really mad, and he called the truth transphobic, which is hugely revealing, because if saying you want the truth is transphobic, that means that the transgender agenda is dishonest and untruthful. Sorry about the people going behind. I'm at the pool, but I just wanted you to have this beautiful view. So if you see a kid or somebody walking by in a swimsuit, that's why. We've got a beautiful swimming pool in our complex. So that was extremely, extremely, extremely revealing, that he said the truth was transphobic. And then he also said a couple of other things, that it was condescending. And how is the saying you want the truth condescending? Asking for the truth. I mean, is my, MacBook, is it A dark gray, yeah. It's a dark gray, blacky, silvery kind of color, but, and I guess you could argue about that, but like my phone case is blue, okay? You can't argue, I mean, you could go into semantics about what kind of blue it is, but it's blue. And so that's the truth. It is blue. I'm wearing a green top. That's the truth. I dye my hair blonde. That's the truth. I wasn't born a blonde. That's the truth. And, there's nothing wrong with stating the truth, and there's nothing wrong in having truth. And people that have problems with the truth are problematic. And so I think that gentleman was definitely problematic. It's problematic that he's a professor in a university teaching young people. And so that definitely was a huge, gigantic problem. But in the end, he asked this professor that I told you, who's male, he asked male congressman or senator, or I don't know what the guy was, but he tried to ask him, and his assistant, who's female, answers, and that was hysterical too, when he says, I only have one more question, what is a woman? And but you have to see it to get the hysterical answer. I'm not going to give you away any Easter eggs or any, I don't want to spoil anything for you, but that was really it was kind of funny. And there's one guy that says a chick doesn't have a dick. Okay, so at least he kind of knows that a person with male sexual organs is not a woman. And they ask him, he's like, well, how do you know you're a man? But he doesn't really get into the definition of what is a woman. And then he asked some women at the Women's March, and I think that that's a really interesting thing, that they were afraid. I don't know if their minds are so twisted that they actually don't know, or if they were just afraid to say it on camera because they don't want to be labeled transphobic, and they don't want to be labeled, look what happened to J.K. Rowling. So I can see why they would be afraid to say a woman isn't a part, 50% of the population that's female. Okay, I can see that. So he really didn't get down. And what bothers me, though, is the feminist movement, which I'm sure that march was mostly a feminist movement. I don't think it was a women's march of conservative women or women that support ideas outside of the feminist ideology. I don't think that they were invited to they're usually not invited or allowed to participate in those marches. So if he would have asked, what are the female issues? What are the women's issues that are important to you? I think that would have been a really good question, because that is how the feminists defined women. And feminists define women as a woman who should have a right to kill the baby inside her, a woman who doesn't make as much money as a man, and so we need to be really angry about that. A woman, now the best part and the only good part about feminism is that they would probably also say that women can be anything. They can be rocket scientists, they can be astronauts, they can be doctors, lawyers, any career, entrepreneurs, they can start $1 million companies, whatever. So that is the one good probably part of the definition of woman that you would get from the feminist movement. However, the counter to that definition, they would say that women are so much more than just mothers and homemakers and wives, which are three things that women definitely are, and they kind of have given those three things a negative connotation throughout, coming out of the 60s and 70s, that you don't have to be that. Why would you want to be that? You can be so much more than that, as if being a mother and loving your family is not fulfilling, that can't possibly be fulfilling. And so that's part of the negative of feminism. And so I think that, but that's one definition, and I think that should have been addressed, that, women have been defined throughout history. You know, they've been the playthings of powerful men and rulers. They've been powerful women. Queen Elizabeth I was the Queen of England, and she was very, very powerful, and she ran her country exactly like she wanted to do it. And she had a lot of men under her that tried to take her power and usurp her in many ways, and she held on to it. So women have been powerful leaders and rulers throughout history. So I think that that's something that we could discuss if we were going to talk about what is a woman. And finally, I think what you want to talk about, what is a woman? We are mothers. We are the caregivers and of a family unit who give a lot of love to children and raise them up in love. Hopefully there's also a father involved in that. And fathers are second half. Happy late Father's Day. I'm filming this the day after Father's Day. We're sisters. And that means, you know, the bonds that we have with our other female siblings. And, you know, I have two sisters. I love my sisters very, very much, and I would do anything for them. And we are also sisters to brothers, and those relationships. And women in and of themselves, I think, are very relationship based and balanced. And we have wonderful relationships with our girlfriends. You know, we do lunches and go out to movies and talk about everything and have wonderful, caring relationships with our girlfriends. And then, of course, we're wives, and we can be wonderful wives and helpers and have fabulous relationships with husbands who, you know, that's biblical. That's the biblical design is, you know, a man and a woman together, and the woman and the man are different, but they have different purposes. But, you know, the woman is a helpmate to the man protects the woman, and there's that relationship, and it's a beautiful relationship. So I think a woman is far more than just her female parts, her female body. The Bible tells us that a woman is worth more than rubies and diamonds and gold. And I think that if you look in the Bible, there are many wise women. Deborah was a judge. Mary, the mother of Jesus, was very wise and very godly, and you know. So I think that we have many, many examples biblically of wonderful, wonderful women that we can emulate. And I think that especially since Matt Walsh is a Christian, I think he could have included some of that. I think that he missed out on making a full rounded movie. I think that this focus and this laser sharp focus on simply trans women and are they women or are they not women, I think that answer is obvious. And I think that people have been bullied into an opinion about that. I think that people have been told you're not nice to say, but the truth is the truth. And if the truth is transphobic, then so be it. But let's face it, if you take blood from me, you're going to find X chromosomes, no Y, just 2 X's. And if you go down into my DNA, every strand of my DNA will say I am a woman. So you don't even have to, I am a woman beyond the boobs and the uterus that could have a baby and those parts. I am a woman beyond the fact that my body produces more estrogen than testosterone. I am a woman way beyond that, genetically down to the tiniest part of my DNA says that I'm a woman. And the same with my husband, except the opposite. He has an X and Y chromosome. He has, and he is way far more than just his physical attributes that show that he's a man. And we know so much about the development of men and women and how dangerous it is to we even know, for example, how dangerous it is, these chromosome and puberty blockers that they're giving, not chromosome blockers, puberty blockers that they're giving children. We know that back from the 1500s to the mid 1800s, like I think 1870 I read was one of the last times they created the boys that had the falsetto voices, and they're called, I can't remember what they're called, but they used to cut the balls off of young boys before they hit puberty so that they would have these beautiful high voices, and they would then sacrifice them. Their parents would sacrifice them, lie, and say that these accidents happened, whether it was a horse accident or whatever accidents they wanted to make up. And they would make these these lies up so that they could sacrifice their children for the sake of having a high voice and hopefully becoming a famous opera star or becoming part of the Catholic Church boys choirs that they had that were very, very popular. And we know from that experiment, we know from that existence that what happened to these boys, besides the fact that of course they could never produce children and never have a family, never become a father. Besides and beyond that, we know that their bones did not fuse right, and they were eerily, I can't remember exactly the words that it was, but unnaturally their bones were long and they were unnaturally tall, and because of all the, I guess, the singing practice and expanding their lungs, their rib cages were unnaturally large so that they could accommodate the air span, so they could hold their notes way longer than a natural human being that was allowed to develop naturally. So we know that it's not good for your bones. We know that, of course, they know when they do these puberty blockers that probably they're going to sterilize these, and it's mostly boys that they're doing this with. Some girls, I guess, they are doing this with, and we don't, besides the bone density things, we don't know what other problems girls are going to have as they come out of these periods, and especially if they decide then they don't want to go into opposite sex therapy. So I think that we need to really look at that situation, and it is an important thing that was raised in the movie. It was, but if you're going to talk about what is a woman, let's talk about the definitions of women and what they can be, what they can't be. Let's not just keep it on the trans issue, because women are so much more, and we've fought for our right to votes. Women throughout history have been so many things more than just what makeup you put on or how long you have your hair or what clothing you wear. Women have always been far more than that. And so let's not, if you're going to make a movie, what is a woman? Let's define it. Let's show the strengths of women. Let's end it on a positive note that way. So that was my huge criticism. Matt, still like ya. You're a great guy. And I think that what you did was an important work, but I think for that title, you could have done so much more. And so that is my criticism. Thumbs up if you like it. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications, and you guys have a blessed day, and hope to see you in the future. Bye-bye.